Hello, I'm Olivia, a 40-year-old woman, and I have quite a story to share. It revolves around my ex, who, despite still being legally married, I consider my ex-husband due to the betrayal he inflicted on both me and our daughter 4 years ago. Back then, when my daughter Kimberly was just 14, we faced financial struggles because my husband recklessly squandered our money. This caused considerable tension in our household, and we found it challenging to make ends meet with only one salary. Despite my efforts to shield Kimberly from the harsh reality, she began to sense that something was awry. She started harboring resentment towards her father for his irresponsible spending. The breaking point came on a cold and rainy June 16th afternoon when he left for good. Although he had left us alone for months in the past, this time it felt permanent. As a full year passed without his return, Kimberly and I developed a strong disdain for him. In the face of adversity, I assured my daughter that I would step up and make sure she lacked nothing. I quit my job and delved into affiliate marketing and content writing. It took about a year, but I managed to build a comfortable life. I became a homeowner and even bought a luxurious car for Kimberly and me. My dedication to hard work didn't go unnoticed by Kimberly, who, inspired by my example, decided to pursue a career in online content creation. She flourished, amassing a following of 90,000 on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. In this digital era, turning her lifestyle into a source of income turned out to be a rewarding endeavor. I am immensely proud of her. However, as is often the case in life, what rises must eventually fall. Sadly, we recently experienced the loss of Henry, my former father-in-law and Kimberly's grandpa. The news devastated us. Despite Ben leaving us years ago, we remained connected to his parents. They were good people who supported us through financial hardships and emotional turmoil. Henry, in particular, struggled deeply with Ben's actions. While the rest of us had given up hope, Henry clung to the belief that Ben would one day return with an explanation to mend our broken hearts. As absurd as it seemed, Henry's compassionate nature couldn't fathom any other outcome. Unfortunately, he never witnessed such closure. His passing, though after a long and fulfilling life, was undoubtedly hastened by the silence from his son. Kimberly and I attended the funeral, where we found solace in each other's embrace alongside Aria, Kimberly's grandma, and my ex-mother-in-law. Despite the somber atmosphere, something inexplicable occurred. It was as if the cemetery's ambience, combined with grief-stricken faces, played tricks on my mind. In that moment, amidst the sorrow, I could have sworn I saw a ghost, a sight too bewildering to comprehend. My eyes must have deceived me, for in the distance, I glimpsed the specter of a man who had been absent from our lives for 4 years, my husband. Whether fortuitous or unfortunate, the mystery lingers to this day. I couldn't deny it any longer. It wasn't a mere apparition. It was my husband. Yet he resembled a ghost, unnaturally gaunt, as if all the life had been drained from him. I attributed it to the shock of his father's death. Such harrowing news could make anyone appear ill. He approached the funeral, sending shockwaves through everyone. Kimberly erupted in screams and berated him for abandoning us years ago. Aria, his mother, sobbed even harder, questioning where everything went wrong. Meanwhile, I stood frozen, overwhelmed by a flood of emotions. It's clear your presence isn't wanted here. You don't get to show up randomly like this. Leave the same way you left 4 years ago. I hate you, and I don't want to see you here, Kimberly shouted. Oh my goodness, Ben, how could you have left all those years ago? Your father died of a broken heart, Aria pleaded. Let him stay. I unexpectedly intervened, surprising everyone, including Ben. After my initial shock wore off, I realized that this wasn't the time or place for a dramatic display of emotions. Despite my hatred, he had lost his father and he had the right to say goodbye. I conveyed this sentiment to everyone, and we agreed, at least for the time being, to remain civil out of respect for dear Henry. The funeral proceeded, and we reconvened at my home. Ben commented, "Nice place you got here." "Cut the crap, Ben. You can't just waltz in here like nothing happened. If you want to stay, tell us everything." "Absolutely everything. I won't let you taint this home with your negative energy. Olivia has worked too hard for it. You owe us an explanation, and you can start by stating your business. We all know you're not here just for Grandpa's funeral, I asserted. I'm here because of my father's funeral. He was my father, but I'm also here for another thing. I'm here to collect my inheritance, Ben stated, prompting me to physically restrain Kim before she launched another verbal assault. Heads turned, and murmurs filled the air as people sensed the brewing altercation. Fortunately, Arya managed to keep the crowd at bay while I led Ben and Kim to a quieter part of the house. I didn't mean to hurt you, my baby, Ben attempted to reconcile. Don't call me that. I'm not yours in any way. You forfeited that right when you left us to fend for ourselves without explanation. What kind of father does that? I tried to forgive you, but I can't, Kim retorted bitterly. Look, Kim Bolivia, I'm sorry about everything. I really am. But I desperately need the money. I'm in some hot water right now, and do you think we care about you and your problems? By the looks of it, you've fallen in with the wrong crowd. Are you doing drugs? I interjected. Ben hesitated, his pallor and sickly appearance suddenly making sense. At that moment, Arya joined us. Now that I've sorted everything out, Ben, can you please explain what happened? Your father waited for you all this time. He held on to hope that you would return one day with a good enough explanation to ease our doubts. So please tell me that you've come bearing some good news. I came here to get my inheritance money, Mom, Ben confessed. He's on drugs, Grandma. That's why he came here, to get his inheritance money so he can buy more drugs, Kim added bitterly. No, it's not like that at all. You were right about me hanging with the wrong crowd. Let's just say I was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and now I owe some people some money, Ben explained. How much are we talking about? Arya inquired. 50,000, Ben admitted. Whoa, that's quite a sum. So while Mom and I were struggling to keep warm and fed, you were messing around with shady people? Well, we won't help you with that. You made your bed, and now you have to lie in it, sweetie, I concluded, disappointment evident in my voice. I know you're upset, but please, let's just... Are you trying to defend him right now? He left us, Mom. I know, Kimberly. He didn't just leave you, okay? He left me too. He left your grandmother and he left Grandpa too. He broke all of our hearts, and we don't ever have to forgive him for doing that. But clearly he's learned his lesson, right? I mean, just look at him. It's so crazy how I was defending him so wholeheartedly back then when, in the end, it was because of me that he eventually did what he did. Shortly after the funeral was finalized, Ben was staying in a motel, and Arya and I, mostly Arya, would visit him to see if he needed anything. Kim refused to even see his face again. We just wanted to finalize his inheritance so that he could be on his merry way. Kim and I decided that we didn't want much to do with him, but Arya, seeing as she was his mother, obviously wanted to try and rekindle something. As the weeks went by, and the family lawyers authenticated Henry's will and assessed inheritance values, Arya brought Ben to the house to promote a civil environment among us all. As much as bitterness and hatred wouldn't do us any good, it was going to take a long time for us to be anywhere near that. Kim would sometimes come just to sit and not speak, but she mostly opted out of the whole thing. Finally, the lawyers informed us of the inheritance each person would receive, and by some lucky stroke of fate, it turned out that Ben's inheritance would amount to $50,000. Kim was infuriated. She didn't find it fair that the person who robbed her of her happiness for many years gets to be rewarded out of the blue. As much as she was an adult, she was still my baby, and I could understand her frustrations. Unfortunately, it wasn't up to her to decide whether he would get the money or not. Arya and I were seemingly nonchalant about the findings, and honestly, I just wanted this whole process to be done with so that I could go back to living my good life. As Ben was assimilating to this lifestyle, it appeared as though his demeanor changed. He went from shy, timid, and remorseful to slightly arrogant and cocky, especially when he heard that he would be receiving exactly what he came here for. I noted this behavior change but opted not to say anything and just chalk it up to the drugs he was doing. It was so sad to see a man who used to be so respectable end up like this. I just couldn't understand. A few more weeks went by, and Arya told me Ben's inheritance money is ready to be collected. He doesn't know about it yet, but I wanted to inform you beforehand. I know it's a terrible thing to consider giving such a large amount of money to an addict. The thought of what he might do with it is too distressing to contemplate. I'm so sorry, my child, but I just don't think I can handle giving him the money, only to see him disappear again. It would shatter the sliver of hope I have left for him. I can't be the one to give it to him. I can't be the one to give it to him. Please, can you do it? Of course, Arya. I can't imagine how hard this has been on you. It takes a different type of strength as a mother to witness such an awful thing happen to your baby. You've been strong for too long, Mom. It's time for you to rest. Please don't worry. I'll handle everything. Although I took on the task of handing Ben the money, I needed some time to compose myself and be at peace with any outcome that was about to happen. To calm myself down, ironically enough, I hid away in the attic where all the old paraphernalia of my previous life sat. I kept many things from the old house, finding solace in them. They reminded me of how far I'd come. The attic was the perfect place for me to sit and reflect upon the old and dusty plastic tea set we bought at a cheap yard sale when we couldn't afford proper dishes. I reminisced about the half-dead heater that often refused to work, leaving Kim and me huddled together for warmth, which was never enough. I glanced at Ben's old chest, filled with what I presumed were old work documents. I'd never dared to open it, afraid of confronting just how much money was being drained from the household to fund his other seemingly more important lifestyle. However, on this day, the day I was supposed to give him the money, I decided that I couldn't be afraid anymore. I couldn't resist the urge to see what lay inside. I broke open the now worn-out chest to find stacks of papers, bank statements and checkbooks, all detailing the amount of money that Ben had squandered away. As I examined the bank statements tracing where the money had gone, I noticed that the account recipient was named Maria. Curiosity led me to dig deeper, and what I discovered made my heart drop. Deep within the chest was a letter, a handwritten note. It read, "Dear Ben, when are we going to stop sneaking around like this? I'm getting bored and tired of your inability to kick your wife and kid to the curb like you said you would. You seem to enjoy spending months with me, taking all of my drugs and going back to your family, even though you clearly hate them. If you don't tell them the truth, I will get Manuel involved. You already owe him tons of money from all the drugs you do with him for free. And this is how you want to treat me. I'm getting you 24 hours to get this done. Otherwise, you'll be in big trouble. Maybe I'll tell your wife all about me and our affair, as well as all the expensive bags and shoes you buy me. Or maybe I'll tell Manuel to get his goons to sort you out. Maybe I'll do both. Who knows? All of this can be avoided if you just do what we agreed upon. Remember, 24 hours or your entire life is gonna come crashing down. Tick, tick, babe. C.O. Maria." Reading this letter almost made my heart explode in my chest. So Ben was having an affair before he left, and he had spent the money on his mistress. The thought made me want to vomit. This man had prioritized his party lifestyle while his wife and kid were at home, struggling to survive. It was unforgivable and utterly disgusting. This was the explanation I had been waiting for. All of his horrendous behavior simply boiled down to selfish self-indulgence. The rage and bitterness that I had harbored for so long began to boil within me. At this point, I was moving on autopilot. I gathered everything from the chest and stormed to the dingy motel where Ben was living. I burst through the door to find him with drugs on the bed. "You are completely unbelievable. You're doing drugs just as I was about to give you the money." "What, you have the money? That's great. Give it to me," Ben replied callously. "You are pathetic and you make me sick," I spat. "Yeah, well, I don't care. Give me the money, Olivia," he demanded. "What is this?" I flung the papers at him, holding onto the letter I had just discovered. He froze. If he didn't look sickly and pale before, he looked emaciated now. By the time I finished reading, he was trembling. "You got this letter on June 15th, right? The day before you just up and left." "I'm gonna explain." No, Ben, you can't explain. The time for explaining is over. You're 4 years too late. I was sick, Olivia. I still am sick, as you can see. Stop all the excuses, Ben. You think I wasn't tired? You think I didn't want relief anywhere I could find it? We all make choices, Ben. You're a grown man, damn it. You left us because you were having an affair. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? I never loved you. I never wanted that life. I never wanted to be with you. I just got with you and had the kids so that mom and dad could get off my back. I never wanted responsibility, and frankly, I don't care enough to rekindle or mend anything between us. Not you, not Kimberly, and not even my mother. I know it sounds awful to say, but it's the truth. Take it or leave it. Now give me my money. I can't say I'm surprised, actually. You've always been the evil villain to me, and that's all you ever were. Even now, as I look at you, you look like some demon from a comic book. You're disgusting. Olivia, I really don't care what you think about me. Just give me my money. You might not care what I think. You might not even care about what your mother and daughter think as well. But it appears as though a certain Maria and Manuel have a hold on you, even if it's just a little bit. He froze once more. Bingo. I take it that you managed to escape them. Right now, you're running with a new crew, and because you're a pathetic mess, you managed to mess up those relations also. He briefly nodded. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave this place immediately without the money. You won't get a single dime of this inheritance money. Consider this money reparations for Kimberly and me. You owe us that much, at least. What, are you crazy? Tom's gonna kill me if I come back without his money. That's not my problem. You should have thought about that before engaging with this stuff. And what if I refuse? Well, then I believe that someone with a very large following on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube might just accidentally leak some very private information about you. You know, the type of information that can reach anybody, including people named Manuel and Maria. Additionally, somebody else with a very successful blog and website can write an article further exposing you to absolutely anybody with an internet connection. All right. I hear you loud and clear. Yeah, I'm giving you 24 hours to get all of your things and get out of here. Get out of this city, hell, get out of this state. Your presence isn't welcome here. You don't need to say goodbye to anybody. I'm going to tell Aria and Kimberly everything, as if their hearts haven't been broken enough. What a shame indeed. I don't even know what to say. How about you? Good luck. Let's hope your drug buddies don't rough you up too badly. Although now that I think about it, I don't care what they do to you. You've already been dead to me for 4 years now. He left town the next day. Thankfully, none of us has seen him since. I am just very content in the fact that all three of us have some closure on where Ben had gone and why.